We're about to give a smoothie demonstration, and we're going to make the best smoothies in the world, right? So the whole planet can enjoy these smoothies. And having the maximum or the best type of nutrition is part of one of the 5 principles of natural healing that we advocate on our website, Raw Wisdom. And they are, first of all, there's 3 principles of natural healing for the physical body and 2 for our inner life, our inner consciousness. And basically it is to, the 3 principles of building up the health of the body is first the building up process itself, which is through nutrition. We're getting the absolute highest quality nutrition we possibly can. It's very simple, and I like to keep things simple because that's also part of the healing process, is to make things simple so that we can actually do these things and make ourselves whole. To be whole is to be simple, because when you complicate things, things fall apart, you know, and being whole, so we want to keep it simple. So there's the building up principles, there's the tearing down principles, which we use fasting, cleansing, things like that for the physical body, and the third is motion. We want to have exercise, we want to have a massage, we want to, after we clean the body and build it up, we want to also put it in motion and make it as healthy as possible by those 3 primary means. Then there is the healing of consciousness within, the state of being of our consciousness, and secondly, the 5th principle is the direction of our consciousness, which is what our mind gives. Our mind directs us to focus. We have concepts that are really focusing tools, mental concepts. And so what is the direction of our lives? So part of the healing process is to have positive mindset, to have faith, hope, love, determination, to have persistence, because you have to keep with a program in order to get the body healed. So it keeps it very simple to have those principles. And for the state of being and the cleansing of consciousness, we have meditation practices, and we just put up some great YouTubes on meditation. And we're going to do an actual meditation practice with relaxing music that's really fabulous. I put that together years ago, and for the first time we're going to put it up on the web. So I'm very excited about that. So now, we go to the very first principle is nutrition, because people start with that. That's so basic, because we are material, we are spiritual beings in a material body. And if we can heal our body by bringing in the absolute richest, the finest materials, and we advocate organic, whole, fresh, in season, living foods. And there's a relationship I was starting to say before, between, before this tape started, between organic and living foods that most people in our culture don't get it as yet. You know, organics has become popular. It's growing at 20% a year in the marketplace. The popularity of living foods is just beginning. And there's actually a relationship, because life, as I was saying, is a relationship. It's based on consciousness. Consciousness forms a relationship of connection. The mathematical worldview, which forms chemistry, is an abstraction. It's based on the abstractions of separation. So we are, when we have too many chemicals in our environment and they penetrate, they're synthetic and they penetrate too deeply, they begin to actually pollute the planet, because they're not based on that paradigm of connection that actually makes up the essence of life and consciousness. And so we don't even understand what those principles are. And so actually, to make both a living and organic, non-chemical worldview, there's a link between those 2. And that link is never made, you see. So when we use fire, for example, fire is a separative force in nature. It tears things apart. And we want to bring the living, the connective part. And we don't want to burn things too far, because if we're going to destroy that connective relationship that is at the very foundation of nature, and at the foundation of ourselves and our wellness and our being. So this is a philosophical paradigm shift that hasn't quite happened in our culture. And so what we have here is all organic, non-chemicalized, fresh, non-heated living foods. And living foods include sprouts, which are, you know, touched by water which brings out life and consciousness throughout nature and establishes that connected relationship, supporting consciousness and life. And as we make the cells in our body and the membranes in our body and each of our cells alive, then they will not be subject to the primary illnesses that affect our culture, such as diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and so on. And there have been dozens of studies that have shown this. They're on our websites. You look at the research tab on our website, and you'll see we have a smattering. There's actually about 200-300 scientific studies we'd like to put up when we have time. And we're working on organizing that and providing that to the raw food community. So now, smoothies is one of the best ways to bring this high level of nutrition into our bodies because, you know, when things are solid, they're separate, right? When they're flowing, they're more connected. And so it helps to bring out that life force that actually lives the strongest in our bloodstream, in that which is flowing inside of our bodies. And so we make liquid food that has that life force that then can penetrate deeply into ourselves and make us vibrant and whole. And we use, as the base for these smoothies, there's different kinds of smoothies, but I love to make the green smoothies, which is the topic for today. And we start out usually with a base of what is the most dense of these green smoothies. What I do here is I fill up at least half of a container. At home I actually have a scale where I try to make at least a pound. When I'm making smoothies, I try to have at least a pound of these in a given container. And we are here using a Champion HP blender, which works miracles. Okay, and this will come down because it's you know, you can stuff it down. Okay, so that's our base. Now to that, there are other greens you can add. We like cucumbers, celery, things of that kind, so we put a little bit of that in. We also, another kind of green is seafood greens. And these have not been soaked, but they'll get full of water as they're in the blender. You can also add sprouts, which is another category, and there's so many different sprouts. So many things I'm showing here are just examples, and you can use your own creativity. There's probably 10 different kinds of seaweed you can put in. So this, I believe, is alfalfa sprouts. So we put a little of that in. Okay. You can also put super green powders, and we have one of the richest here. This is spirulina by Health Force, which has very high standards in creating their super green powders. And I think I had a spoon here a minute ago, which seems to have moved. Maybe you can get me one, Melinda, thanks. So that can create a foundation for our blend, for our green smoothie blend. So you have a choice. And this particular blend that I'm making is a low glycemic blend. So if someone has a serious health challenge, especially diabetes, we recommend you start with a low glycemic. After 3 to 6 months of being on this kind of a low glycemic diet, the body rejuvenates, it gets rid of its viruses, its bacteria, its fungus, its lower life forms, and then you can begin to add more and more of the sugary foods. Like, we're going to make a smoothie, so nice things in smoothies are apples, bananas, you know, they make terrific blends. But this is a great spirulina powder, which is a single-cell algae. I believe they're all single cells. And it's a really deep green, full of protein powder that's enormously healing. Okay, so there's our foundation. Now what do we add to this foundation? We follow kind of Gabriel Cousens' approach, which is that we add 4 basic flavors to make this delectable. Because in the old days, Ann Wigmore began the trend toward an energy soup, which included sprouts, and she liked to use Rejuvelac in her energy soups. And I went to her clinic over in Puerto Rico, and frankly, it was really hard to take down her energy soup because it wasn't very tasty. You know, it was hard, especially with the Rejuvelac, which had the kind of a, well, it's hard to describe the taste.
Fermented.
Fermented, right, exactly. So what we do is we include 4 basic flavors. The first is something sweet, but we don't want to make it too sweet if you're on a low glycemic. So we have, here's some tomatoes. You can also use sweet peppers. So I'm going to cut up a little bit of tomato. I don't know if I'm still on the camera. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to do that. This only takes a minute. This whole process, by the way, you can do a really quick green blend in about 5 minutes.